So, good evening. I am Delan Rosales together with Jonalyn Pino and Jenny Lubuis, and we're going to discuss or report the Bangladesh bank heist in 2016. Ex- So, the what happened in Bangladesh money heist? In February 2016, hackers broke into a Bangladesh bank computer system and used a SIP credential to send 35 fraudulent fund transfer requests to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And the attackers stole a 95 million 955 million, but only 81 million was successfully transferred due to misspelling the error foundation. And then that was the trigger of Deutsche Bank suspicion due to misspelling. And then the 81 million was funneled to a five fictitious account at RCBC Jupiter Street branch in Manila, Philippines. And that was account open a year in advance. So it means before they do the heist, they open a fake accounts so that they can transfer the money in the in that account, specific account. And then the money was rapidly laundered through Philippine casinos and junket operators, making it nearly impossible to recover. And then only 15 million was ever returned. The heist exposed a critical vulnerabilities in the global SWIFT intern bank network. So, and then also in that through in that bank heist, um, they 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 do a forensic, or I mean crime forensic. Um, while they investigating, they investigate that, or they suspicious it has a insider assistance, but only I suspected possible insider involvement was investigated but only conclusively proven. And then the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication is a uh, global system, like, or I mean bank, to transfer money at a financial messages between them. And also uh, how and also on the key facts how Lazarus linked in this crime, or in this heist. um Lazarus Group is like not totally involved. It was not caught directly, like arrested the hackers. Instead, the investigator used a forensic, like what I said earlier, cyber forensic and intelligence patterns. So the malware, it was a similarities malware used in the attack was very similar, and also the tools used in Sony Pictures hack 2014, and then the other bank attacks worldwide. Um, these attacks were already linked to Lazarus, and also cybersecurity firms found a same coding style, same encryption methods, same command and control service. It's look like a fingerprint, so that they link, so that how they link into a Lazarus group. And also the infrastructure use. Hackers use servers and IP routes previously tied to Lazarus operation. And then the target pattern, Lazarus is known for attacking banks and financial institutions and stealing money to fund the North Korea. And then the intelligence agency confirmation agencies like FBI, cybersecurity firms, and and then like and then so that how they link to a RCBs, I mean Lazarus Group. So the Philippine and Lazarus Group find got fined for the cause of for the cost or the heist. And also, the Philippine find 1 billion, and then also find 8, if I'm not mistaken, million, 81 million of Lazarus. I mean 100 million in a Lazarus group. And also, I mean next, the first crime classification is was organization. So organization, um, the Bangladesh Bank and Federal Reserve Bank of New York were the primary targets. Hackers infiltrated Bangladesh Bank internal system to steal SWIFT credentials and issue fraudulent transfer to the orders worth 951 million. So it means the focus is on the main target of the crime in this case, the hackers attacked Bangladesh Bank and even targeted the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. They infiltrated internal systems and stole SWIFT credential used for internal bank transfers. Using this access, they attempted to transfer 951 million fraudulent, but it only 81 million was successful. So secondary is the property. 81 million in public financial reserves was directly stolen and laundered. The thief constitutes a crime against property as it involves unauthorized taking of financial asset from regulated institution. So this refers to a financial loss or stolen assets was around 81 million dollars stolen and laundered. This is a considered property crime because money or a financial asset was taken without authorization. And lastly, tertiary is society. The laundering through Philippine casinos and RCBC exposed systematic weakness in national AML laws, triggered major reforms. The incident shook public confidence in the global banking system. This shows the wider impact on the public and system. The stolen money was laundered through Philippine casinos and RCBC or the Rizal Commercial Bank Corporation. It exposed the weakness in anti-money laundering. At anti-money laundering laws, the incident reduced trust in global banking systems and led to reforms. Next, um, the modus operandi analysis. First, in 2014, reconnaissance. Reconnaissance, North Korean hackers began studying Bangladesh bank systems, transaction patterns, and SWIFT usage. They studied typical large transfer behavior to blend in. This attacker linked to a Lazarus group studied Bangladesh bank system. They analyzed transaction patterns and SWIFT usage. And second, on May 2015, sleeper accounts. Five fictitious bank accounts were opened at our CBC Jupiter branch in Manila with only $500 each. They sat dormant for nearly a year to avoid suspicion. So it means they opened fake bank accounts in Rizal Commercial Bank Corporation or RCBC in Manila. These accounts had a small deposit and were left inactive for a month or for a year. And in early 2016, phishing and malware, spear phishing emails with malicious attachment were sent to Bangladesh bank employees. A keylogger captured credentials and operator passwords. And bank employees were targeted with phishing emails, malware like keyloggers was installed to steal safe flagging credential employee passwords. And on February 14, 2016, the fraudulent transfers, 35 transfer orders were submitted using stolen SWIFT credential to the Federal Reserve. New York, the printer that lagged SWIFT transaction was sabotaged to print blank fake pages. Using the stolen credential, they sent 35 fake transfer requests to Federal Bank of New York. They also disabled the printer that lagged transaction to do hide evidence. And then lastly, on February 5, 2016, laundering via casinos. So about 81 million rich RCBs in the Philippines. Money was quickly moved into casinos, converted into chips, and then withdrawn as a cash. And a delay due to a holidays slowed response helping a criminal escape. So overall, the the attack was carefully planned over years. From research, preparation of fake accounts, hacking the system, executing fraudulent transfer, and financially laundering money through casinos. Next slide.
Next is modus operandi, identity, and escape. So, how did the hacker protect themselves and escape? Protecting their identity, the malware they installed deleted itself after doing its job, like a criminal who wear gloves so they don't leave fingerprint. They use fake names of for the bank account, and they sabotage the printer so they was no paper record of the transaction. Sa time zone exploitation naman, this is the genius and evil part of the plan. They timed the attacks perfectly using different country time zone. When the New York Fed um, received the fake transfer order on Thursday afternoon, Bangladesh Bank was already closed because their weekend start on Friday. When Bangladesh Bank reopened on Sunday, the New York Fed was closed for their weekend. When they tired to contact on the to contact the Philippines, RCBC was closed for Chinese New Year. So for almost 4 days, nobody could talk to each other to stop the transaction. By the time everyone was back at work, the money was already in the casino. It's like planning to steal something when the security guard is on break, the manager is on the vacation, and the cameras are being repaired and all the same time. Next is the next slide is human and technology. Was social engineering involved, and was it human based or computer based? Answer is both. Computer based social engineering was the primary method. The hacker used spear phishing, meaning they send target fake emails to a specific employee in Bangladesh Bank. Unlike regular spam, spear phishing emails look very real and personal. From example, imagine receiving an email that say, "Hi, this is IT support. Please open this file to update your Swift system." You open it thinking it's legit, but it's actually installed a virus. They also use a keylogger software that record everything you type, and they use swift impersonation, pretending to be legitimate bank offer when sending the transaction order. Woman-based social engineering also played a role. Investigator believe there were insider people inside Bangladesh Bank and RCBC who may have helping the hacker. The RCBC branch manager, of example, process the transaction even after um, receiving a stop payment order. That is either cooperation or negligence, but either way, a woman being made it possible. Also, fake identities were used to open the RCBC account. Someone physical went to the bank and opened those accounts using false name and false documents. Next slide is the Philippines legal path reporting the bodies. If this happened to us, where do we report it? There are three government bodies we need to know. Number one is DOG, Office of Cybercrime. This is the lead agency of this case. Why? Because this crime cross international borders. It's involve Bangladesh, the US, CR, Lanka, and the Philippines. The DOG coordinates when other countries handle extradition requests and leads the legal response. Think of them as the main boss when it comes to cybercrime law. Number two is PNP, an anti-cybercrime group of the PNP ACG. They are the investigator on the group. They are the one who do digital gather and evidence and file criminal change. In this case, they investigate the RCBC branch and the people involved. Number three is the DICT or Department of Information and Communication Technology. They provide technical support. They help analyze how the cyber attack happened and recommend improvement to national cybersecurity. To it's make it simple. Think of it like a hospital. The DOG is the head doctor who decide diagnostic. The PNP is the nurse who does the actual treatment, and the DICT is the medical technologists who run the labs. Next slide is
Legal penalties or the RA 10175. So under the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012 or the RA 1075, several cyber offenses carry serious legal penalties. First, illegal access or hacking can lead to imprisonment of up to 12 years or a fine of at least 200,000. Next is computer-related fraud, such as manipulating financial system, can result in imprisonment or fines reaching up to 1 million or both. We also have computer-related forgery, like falsifying SWIFT message, which carries similar penalties. If the attack targets critical infrastructure, such as banks or government systems, the punishment becomes more severe, reaching up to 20 years in prison. Additionally, companies can be held accountable under corporate liability, facing fines and even license revocation. So, in overall, this penalty shows how seriously cybercrimes are treated, especially when they affect financial system and national security. Next slide is mitigation plan. Of course, to prevent cyber attacks like this, we propose three key mitigation measures. First, network segmentation and air gapping. This means isolating SWIFT system from regular networks to prevent attackers from moving across system once they gain access. The second one is multi-factor authentication and dual authorization. Even if the hackers steal login credentials, they still cannot access the system without additional verification and the approval from another authorized person. The third one is the real-time transaction monitoring and anomalies detection. This uses AI or automated system to detect unusual transactions such as large transfer or suspicious timing and alert security teams immediately. So these three measures to strengthen security by preventing the unauthorized access, limiting damage, and detecting threats in real time. Next is conclusion and key takeaways. So, in our conclusion, this case highlights how cybercrime can significantly impact organizations, especially in the finance sectors. It also classified primarily as the crime against organization with secondary effects on property and society. The attack followed a clear pattern or the modus operandi, start from phishing, leading to credential theft and ending in fraudulent transaction. It also involved social engineering where attackers exploit human weaknesses, not just technical vulnerabilities. So in terms of response, different agencies such as the DOJ, PNP or the DICT play important role in investigation and enforcement. The key takeaway is that the cybersecurity is not just about technology. It also involves in people, the process, and also the continuous monitoring. So implementing like strong security measures like network isolation, multi-factor authentication, and real-time detection can significantly reduce the risks of such attacks happening again. That's all po. Thank you.